What's up, guys? This is Bergzor. I'm just going to do a tutorial on animation here. I know the pickings are slim for animation tutorials, and I've heard some people had a hard time understanding Aeon and XP32's tutorial and some other tutorials. I'm sure those guys are foreign, so it's no big deal. I just figured I'd shine the light on it for people who need some clarification. And some tutorials, I won't name any specifically, but I noticed that some of them aren't really quite accurate with some of the things they say to do. Or there might be an easier way to do it, or maybe they're missing things or whatnot. So I'm going to show you how I do it. And mind you, I had a lot of help once I started using Hkx content tools. I was having a big hard time exporting and getting them to work in Skyrim, so I had some help from Rogue Mage, Yuckle, however it's pronounced, XP32. So big credit out to those guys. They helped me a lot. So if you guys need help, same thing. I won't be selfish on the matter. I mean, I had a lot of help, so if you guys need help, anybody, don't hesitate to whisper me on the Nexus page. But please, try to figure it out for yourself first, because that's what we all did. And if everyone just whispered me on everything all the time, then I'd probably be getting a lot of whispers, and I'm not really too fond of that, not in general. So anyway, so let me start from the beginning here. So if you already know how to extract BSAs, and convert the animations to KFs, etc., all that good stuff, then go ahead and just skip through to the relevant section that you need. Just kind of look through the video and find the part that you need. But I'm gonna start from the beginning. So what I use is Bsa Opt for Bsa Extraction. I've used other there are other BSA programs too. I'm sure they all work fine. I've used other ones before. I think the other one I used to use was called Bsa Extract or something. I don't know. But they all work fine. I use this one because the interface seems to be the cleanest or whatnot. Alright, let me see. Find it. Bsa Opt. See, there's another one, Bsa Browser, that I got. I guess that's probably another extraction one that I used. Anyway, so you got a 32-bit and 64-bit version. I'm guessing that's what these numbers mean. I got 64-bit Windows, so I'm going to use that one. And then you go browse. Find your Skyrim folder, Skyrim data. And here's all the BSAs right here. So obviously we're doing animations. You want the animations BSA. Pick that one, and it loads. Now I've already got everything extracted, so I'm not going to really do this. I'm just going to kind of show you what buttons to click and whatever. I'm sure it's pretty self-explanatory, but just in case. Anyway, so then down here, after it loads, you go down here, browse, and then this is your out folder. This is where it's going to extract. So pick whatever folder, say I want it to go to the storage folder. I haven't done this in a while, so if I'm a little, inaccurate with my steps here, correct me in the comments or whatnot. But go to storage, use folder, and then I don't know what it does, skimming output, whatever that means. It gets it ready, and then unpack and wait for it to finish, and that should be it. I think a bar pops up somewhere. I think right here or somewhere a bar pops up, like a green bar that fills. Maybe I'm thinking of a different program, but anyway, once you get that done, go into the folder where you extracted it, follow the folder structure, data, meshes, actors, character, animations, and then you'll have all the Hkx animations from the BSA. Alright, and then after that you're going to need a program to convert the Hkx to Kf in order to import it into 3ds Max. Oh, and keep in mind, I've never used Maya or any other sort of animation program other than 3ds Max, and I have the 2010 version. So I can't offer any advice for any other software other than 3ds Max 2010. I'm sure all the 3ds Max versions are similar enough to where you can take excuse me, where you can take these this tutorial and probably apply the techniques to other versions of 3ds Max. But as far as Maya or any other software goes, I have no idea, so don't even bother asking. I won't know what to say. But if you have 3ds Max 2010, then you're good to go, because that's what I use. Alright, so Hkx CMD. I say a lot, don't I? Anyway, Hkx CMD. Google search it. It's the top one. I think it's really I shouldn't say annoying, but it's really ignorant when people ask, like on mod comment pages, or I mean on I'm sorry, YouTube videos and stuff like that. When they ask in the comments, they're like, "Hey, can you provide a link to that or whatever?" Or really just anywhere on the internet, someone asking for a link for a mod. All you got to do is go Google search and type in the name of the mod. Even if you don't know the name of the mod, just type in some relevant, text that's related to it, and I almost guarantee that it's going to be the first thing that pops up on Google search. It's almost like some people, they don't know how to use Google or something. I don't know what's going on there. But anyway, so here's Hkx CMD. That's what you need right there. Hasn't been updated since the 26th of February 2012. So this is pretty much the only tool that we've had for this kind of stuff. Well, I think there's like a Convert UI program. As a matter of fact, I've got that program too, and I've used both, and they both seem to have the same results. So I think they're both based on the same function. It's just Convert UI has a little bit of an easier interface, but this tool seems a little bit more raw. So to me, for some reason, I trust it more. So I usually use the Hkx CMD. Let's see if I have a downloaded. No, I don't. All right. Well, anyway, here's where I put my Hkx CMD. I can't remember what you get when you download the Hkx CMD. You might just get this executable here, but I'm pretty sure this is all you need. I don't think any of my other stuff. Yeah, that's all you need. You get the Hkx CMD. All right, what you do is you make a folder. Like I got my Hkx CMD folder here, right? And I made these folders myself. You just make a folder that you want to put the animations in that you're going to convert, and then you make a folder that you want them to go into when they convert to KFs. All right, and then you're going to need, since you extracted those animations, I believe the skeleton. Pretty sure the skeleton extracts too, and you can find the skeleton Hkx in. Let's see if I can remember here. See, data meshes, actors, character assets. Yeah, character assets or character assets female. I don't think it matters which one you use. You can use skeleton female Hkx. Make sure you use the Hkx one, not the Nif one. Try not to get these two confused because you're going to use these two different skeletons for different situations. But the Hkx one, that's what you need for the conversion. Alright, so you put skeleton in the same folder that Hkx CMD is, not in the anim out folders, whatever you name yours. I've got the XPMS Hkx skeleton here too because I've used it to convert animations before. I can't remember what the results was, but I think I had some weird results, so I don't really ever use it anymore. As a matter of fact, I'm just going to throw that in the toilet. Toilet. Not recycle bin, it's the toilet. I wish when I emptied it, I had a flush noise. That'd be awesome. I'm sure there's a way to set that up. I wish I had like an actual toilet graphics for it too. Anyway, I ramble, forgive me. Alright, so you got your anim out, Hkx CMD, skeleton Hkx. This is what your Hkx CMD folder should look like. Let me go ahead and actually I'll leave that in there just to show you how things go here. And here, and I'll use this. I've got a KF here. Okay, to export KFs, in other words, to convert an Hkx into a KF so you can use it in 3ds Max. Alright, you right-click, shift-right-click on your Hkx CMD folder. Open command window. Alright, now you go Hkx CMD, export KF, and you have to have the HKXs you want to convert in the anim folder, whatever you decide to name these folders. The name is irrelevant. Alright, you can name it poop and fart if you want. It doesn't matter. Alright, so you got your Hkx CMD, you got your Hkx files in the folder you want, Alright, so Hkx CMD export KF, and then you go in quotations, skeleton Hkx, and then the next one is quotations, and the folder with the Hkx ones you want to convert, and then space, another quotations, and then the folder that you want the KFs to go into. You don't have to put quotations at the end of the last one. You can just press enter. Alright, and there you go, export aim. And I only got one animation in there, so I only did one. But if you could have 1,000 in there, and it'll just go brr, 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 and it'll just keep scrolling down. It'll keep doing all of them. All right. So then you go into anim out, and there it is. There's the KF. All right. Now let's say you want to convert a KF back to HKX. Now I don't imagine why. I couldn't imagine why you'd want to do this. I used to do it this way with animations, but there's problems with it. You know, to export it this way and then put it back into Skyrim, there's issues with it. You want to use Hkx content tools, which I'll get into in a moment. But some animations, like non-loop animations, like animations that are just pretty much they play once and then they end. You know, they don't loop like running and stuff like that. Those animations you can do like this just fine. I still wouldn't imagine why you'd want to, because it's much easier to use Hkx content tools. But let's say you want to know how to animate and use this program, but you don't want Hkx content tools. Then, you know, to convert that back to Hkx, you go, Hkx CMD, convert to KF, again, quotation marks, skeleton.hkx, and then you want to put, so it always goes Hkx CMD, and then the command, and then skeleton.hkx, and then what comes after, it depends on what you're doing. For exporting, it's export KF. For converting, convert KF. Skeleton.hkx, and then you want the file you want to convert back to a KF, not in any of these, either one of these folders. You want it in the same folder that Hkx CMD is in. Alright, and then you put the name of the file, so 1hm walkforward.kf, and then you want the name of the file you want it to become. So you want it, you know, I'm sure you want it to be the same name, Hkx. So that's how you want it to look right there. Enter, boom. And then that unknown bone camera control, don't worry about that. Camera control is actually a bone that you do want in the animation. So is camera third person. So if you ever see stuff like that, like unknown bone, camera third person, or camera control, you want those bones. So just completely ignore that. And then boom, there it is. Alright, so I've been rambling a lot. Go ahead and move forward. So now, you've got the Bsa extracted. You've got the Hkx CMD, so you can convert the Hkx's into KFs. Remember, you can convert them back into Hkx's once you're done editing them in 3ds Max. There's a certain way you got to export them. I'm not even going to bother going into that because there's really no reason you should be doing it that way. You should be using Hkx content tools. Trust me, I've learned the hard way. Well, actually, I learned the hard way for a while, but I really didn't learn shit. So I messaged Rogue Mage, and he helped me. And then I guess I learned it the easy way, but I suffered a lot through it before I did. So, all right. So Hkx content tools. I'm not going to offer any links in my description or anything because you can see I'm finding this stuff, you know, just fine on my own. I don't see why anyone else shouldn't be able to. All right. So here you got to put in your information. Well, you know, you guys know your information. And then once you get to the next page, you're going to have a list of different Hkx content tools, and then you're going to have Hkx physics and something like that. You want the Hkx content tools, not the physics one. You want there's like two groups of different versions of files. You want the top group, which is going to be Hkx content tools. You'll see when you get into the page. You want the 2010.2 version. I'm 99.9% sure that's what it's called. 2010.2. You'll see it when you see it, or you'll know when you see it. All right, so you want to get that one. All right, and you're going to probably need to use Mozilla Firefox, which I absolutely can't stand. I much rather prefer Internet Explorer. I don't like Mozilla Firefox, not abundantly. But there are some things that, well, the Internet Explorer doesn't do at all right. It doesn't do it correctly. Like some files, like the Hkx content tools. For me, at least, when I downloaded the Hkx content tools with Internet Explorer, it didn't even have a file extension. It was .file, and I couldn't do anything with it. And it took me forever to finally discover that it was just, I just had to use Mozilla Firefox and download it that way. So I highly recommend use Mozilla Firefox to download that file. Otherwise, it probably won't have a file extension, and it will just be toilet paper. It will be worthless. So use Mozilla, and then it should be an executable. Now, considering, obviously you need 3ds Max for this, or another animation tutorial, or I mean another animation program, and I'm not sure if Hkx content tools works for the other programs or not. I'm sure it does. I don't see why I wouldn't, but run the executable. It's pretty self-explanatory, the installation procedure. Install it. Now, if it installed right, let me load up 3ds Max here, and I'll show you what it should look like, what you should be seeing if it installed right. Oh yeah, by the way, I just installed Cam Studio and set it up like yesterday, so I'm not like pro with it. That's why I keep it up here instead of minimizing it, because anytime I minimize it, it like, I don't know, it starts freezing up on me and stuff, so I just keep it open. I'm not very good with it. I just got it to the point where it records audio, and you know, if my videos are kind of crappy quality video and audio-wise, then I'm sorry, but I'm not really overly concerned about the quality as long as you guys get the message, and that goes for my animation videos too. So I don't have the best computer. It's not a beast, not in any regard. I thought it was when I first got it, but I think that's natural. Anytime you get a new computer, you're like, oh, this computer's awesome, and then, you know, a couple weeks later, you're like, man, this thing's a piece of shit. Anyway, so when you get Habit Content Tools installed, you should have, right to the right of Mac Script, you should have Habit Content Tools, the bar. If this is not there, then it didn't install right. It's as simple as that. So, yeah. So anyway, let's see here. First thing you need is you need to set up a skeleton file. A file that you're going to load every time you want to do an animation. You're going to load this file, you're going to import the animations into it, edit it, and then save them as their own files and such. So you want a foundation, pretty much, to build off of. So we're going to build one right now. Alright, I always go full screen. Oh, and I don't mean full screen of the program. I mean, I go to the perspective. You get these different viewports, right? Perspective, front, top. Whoops, get off there. Perspective, front, top, left. You can switch to them with the keys too. You press P, perspective, F, front. Oh, well, that just goes for that window. I always go full screen, so that's Alt W. Alt W, full screen, alright? Just some keys here. Well, obviously you got click and drag to select different objects if you have them in there. This is just the grid. You do want that because that kind of simulates the ground in game. You do want the grid. So, so yeah. So, and then you got the different keys, right? P goes to perspective viewport. All right, that's what I always use. But you can go L, and you're going to go to left viewport. I've actually loaded files and had this appear before, and it freaked me out. I was like, what the hell? I thought there was something wrong with my 3ds Max or something, and it took me forever to realize that I was actually pressing K to key, and I actually accidentally pressed L and went left, and I thought I screwed something up. But all I did was change the viewport. So it's important to know those keys, just in case you accidentally, you know, click them. You don't like freak out like I did. All right, so P perspective, L left, see F front, B bottom. There, I was just guessing there. I never used those other ones. All right. So, let's see, straighten this out here. All right. Hold down middle mouse to move it around, just like any other program, right? Hold down Alt and middle mouse to spin it. You're going to use those a lot. Middle mouse, Alt, middle mouse. It might be kind of awkward for people at first, but you'll get used to it. That's considering you don't have like a 3D mouse or something, you know, all fancy like that. You know, your buttons are different, and you're probably much more attuned to this sort of stuff than someone using a normal mouse. But you get used to it, and I don't feel crippled by it at all. Anyway, so the first thing you want to do is import a skeleton. So after you export your animations, I'm not sure if the skeletons export from the BSA with the animations. Just go ahead and check, because for this you want the skeleton.nif, not the skeleton.hkx. Skeleton.hkx is for Hkx CMD, for converting and exporting. Skeleton.nif is the actual hard bones that you want to put into the 3ds Max and animate with. So, let's see, where do I got it? Unpacked, new, Skyrim meshes. Alright, so you want to go to meshes, actors, character assets. And you're going to scroll down, and you're going to get, I'm sorry, let me back up here. I use the skeleton female. I don't know why, it just seems to be the popular thing for animators to do. So the skeleton female is in the character assets female. I guess that's the only thing in there. Everything else is in character assets, including the female body, feet, hands, etc. So that said, I'm going to go ahead and go to my file, my folder that I already have set up with all this stuff. I go into animations. I have another 2 folders here actually. Ready anims. This is the folder I put all my KFs in that are ready to import. And then ready meshes. And here's all my meshes, everything I need. All except for skeleton female. I'm actually going to import XPMS though, because you know, at this point in Skyrim, the Skyrim modding, you know, who knows what's going to become available in the future. So you don't want to do all your animations with a normal skeleton, because some other tool in the future might come out that might make it much easier to animate using XPMS and might increase capabilities and whatnot. So in a case like that, you already did all your animations on with a normal skeleton. You're not going to have all those XPMS bones, so you're going to have to redo all your stuff. So you might as well just use the XPMS skeleton just in case, you know, a scenario like that. So let me go. Let's see here. Skyrim. Data meshes, actors, character assets. Alright, this is the XPMS, and you want to use the beast. Always use the beast version. Alright, you don't worry about the tail. If the tail looks stiff, the beast tail looks stiff in your animation, it doesn't matter. The behavior files of Skyrim or some other rather file, I don't know what file governs that, but that something else governs the animation of the tail. You don't have to worry about that in the animations. Alright, when you import a skeleton, you do want cameras. You don't want any animation. Some of these checkboxes might be irrelevant. I just uncheck them anyway. So you want these two boxes up here in the top, these two boxes over here on the bottom. Import skeleton and cameras. Import. Alright. At first you're just going to see the bones. These plus signs are actually the bones. But, you know, that's not a very complete way of seeing it. So go ahead and go to wireframe, and then you'll see lines connecting the bones. Alright. So there's the XPMS skeleton. A lot of this stuff when you animate, unless you want to animate the stuff like wings and the cloak bones and the hair, you don't have to worry about animating those or not animating them in your animations, because, you know what, I'm missing my two leg bones. I think I've had this problem before. I wonder why that is. Let me see here. I think XPMS has a modders resource. Mods. Has a modders resource file that I downloaded, and I think this has the skeleton that's ready. Skeleton beast female. Oops. I still don't have the legs. What's going on there? How did I do it? I wonder if I used the max file that's provided. Maybe I did that. In that case, it'll be a lot easier for you guys. Just go to XPMS, get the full resources for modders, and then if you have 2012, use the 2012 version. If you have any before version, use the 2009 version. Yeah, this must be what I used. There we go. Now I get the legs. Alright, what I do is I remove these meshes, because I'm going to import my own meshes. Because I want to show you how to do it. Alright, now if you do make your own file, using your own skeleton import, you saw how to import the skeleton. Alright, this camera, I can't remember, I think it's called Cam01 originally. You need to rename it to Camera 3rd. And then this camera needs to be renamed to Camera Control, and I think it's Cam02 originally. I think I've had very little success in making my own max files using my own skeleton import. I'll be completely honest. Call me lazy, but I just haven't had the best luck with it. So yeah, so there's the grid. The grid wasn't there with the file, so don't freak out about that. Just press G, grid pops up. Alright, so there's our skeleton. Now what I was saying before I interrupted myself was the cloak bones, hair, wings, all the extra bones with the XPMS skeleton. You don't have to worry about animating those unless they're weight painted to a mesh. And I don't know really how to weight paint a mesh to those bones or whatever, but you have to pretty much connect to the mesh, different parts of the mesh to different bones, and that tells it to animate it. So unless you have meshes weight painted to those bones, and they're not going to have any effect whatsoever, so you don't have to worry about them. I just use this skeleton because, like I was saying before, who knows, a tool might come out in the future that'll make using XPMS to those extra bones more practical and much easier. And in that case, I don't want to have to go back and redo all my animations using XPMS to implement that function or that feature or whatnot. So I just use it just in case. So anyway, so here's our skeleton. All right. I don't think there's anything really needed to be done. If you use the full resources for modders, then you're pretty much all set. There's really not much I would do to it anyway, besides if I imported my own skeleton, I would rename the cameras. That's pretty much it. I've seen tutorials say that you should link certain bones and you should do different things. I don't do any of that stuff. I like to have full freedom with my skeleton. Oh yeah, there is importing the meshes, of course. All right. So let's go find your meshes in character assets, or in my case, I've got mine saved in a folder. Alright, so it's a female skeleton. You want the female, say female head. Alright, for meshes, uncheck cameras, uncheck everything except for these bottom two and these top two here. Those are the only four checkboxes you want. Import. And for some reason with this max file from the XPMS file page, when I import something, it like zooms way out. I don't know why. I just press L for left, P for perspective to get back to it. Alright. And import the rest of them. Let's see. Female hands. Do the same thing. Hands. Import female feet. Female body. Alright. Now, you want to select those meshes you just selected. And there'll be like a little white box around them. That's how you know you selected them. Alright, you want to select the head, the hands, the body, the underwear, and the feet. Right click, freeze selection. Alright, you want to do this because this way you can't select the meshes. You can only select the bones. So when I move a bone, a mesh automatically moves with it. It's connected. You don't want to select the meshes. You want to select the bones. So you freeze selection. Alright, now another thing I do is I color my bones. It makes them much easier to see in wireframe. I use red. I know it's probably not the best color for it, but it helps me see it. Because you're going to be animating a lot in wireframe, so you can see the bones inside the body. I know it looks a little intimidating, but a lot of those bones are the extra XPMS bones. You won't even be using them. Yeah, so color your bones. Pick whatever color you want. Pink. Pink bones. That works. Alright. So that's it. That's your file right there. You're pretty much ready. Another thing you'll be doing with some animations is you'll be turning this bone off, NPC COM, so you can move the character away from the ground and stuff for like jumping attacks, etc. I'll show you how to do that. You go to Animation, Bone Tools, and you just click off that bone. And then you'll be able to move the body up and down, forward and left, etc. And rotate it. My sound effect. Alright, so you get your file. I'm not going to save this because I already got one saved, but go ahead and save it. Alright, and then anytime you want to do an animation, you just load this up, and then you import an animation to it, which I'll show you how to do in a minute. But for now, I'm going to show you how to make a weapon file, alright, for combat animations with a weapon drawn. Alright. You're going to use this same file. So after you save this without the weapons. Alright, just the way it is. And this will be what you use for animations for your character when he's not equipped. he or she is not equipped with weapons. You're going to use this. Alright, and then, after you save it, you're going to go to Import. See, find Meshes. Go to Weapons. Iron. Oops. Or whatever weapon you want. Actually, well, no, I shouldn't say that. Not whatever weapon you want. There's only certain weapons that work this way. As a matter of fact, more specifically, I think the iron sword is the only one that works right doing this. The other weapons seem kind of out of place. They don't match the hands very well. Alright. So you got your sword. You don't need the scabbard. Unless you're doing like a drawing or sheathing animation. In that case, just import another one and import the scabbard. And then delete the sword, whatever. Alright, so I just delete the scabbard. Alright. Select the sword. Animation. Constraints. Position constraint. Press H for object. Pick object. Don't ask me why H means object. It just does. Let's see. Find weapon. Pick. Alright, now you see it's in position with the weapon, but it needs to be oriented to it. So go to orientation restraint. H for object. Weapon. Pick. And we have the sword in hand the way it's going to look in game. Of course, the hands aren't closed around it. We can fix that. I've already got an animation saved for that. Oops. Boom. Hands closed around it. Alright, then we can do the same thing with the other hand too. Import another long sword. Alright, you gotta rename these. I just changed the one to a, excuse me, changed the one to a 2. That's all you need to do. Delete the scabbard. Select the sword. Alright, now this one you want to constrain to the shield node. That is what governs the position of the weapon for the offhand. So position constraint, orientation constraint, shield node. Alright, now you get your weapons. Close this fist down. Boom. Alright. Got our weapons. Got our hands closed on them. Cool beans, right? Alright. Select both weapons. You want to freeze these two. Just like the other meshes you did. And there you go. You have got a file to use for animating for one-handed weapons. Save that too. Yeah, and those weapons are going to follow the hand wherever it goes. Alright, it's going to follow it everywhere. And that is the position of the weapon where it's going to be in game, so it's pretty much perfect. Alright, and there you go. That's how to set up your files. And you can do the same thing with two-handed weapons. As a matter of fact, these constraints, the reason I explored this and wanted to figure this out is because I was considering, you know, I was thinking about two-handed weapons animations, and because before I was doing animations without having the weapons in the animations like this, I was just kind of guessing where the weapon would be, you know, in regards to the wrist, and it was a pain in the butt. I had to go back and forth between Skyrim and 3ds Max, and which I probably would have kept doing it that way, because even though it was a pain in the butt, it was still possible, and I didn't know that I could bring the weapons into the animation like this. But for two-handed weapons, though, the weapon is oriented automatically in game to the right hand, but the left hand is just kind of there. So how Bethesda did it, I don't know, but you know, for me to do it, I would need some way to see, you know, the weapon in the animation, so I can see the handle, and in each frame I know exactly where to put that hand that left hand so that it's on the handle, you know, as well as the right hand. Otherwise, I'd be going back, you know, in and out of Skyrim, back and forth, probably a hell of a lot more than I was with the one-handed animation. So that's why I figured that out. But anyway, I'm going to take a little break.